It's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. No truer statement could be said about Oleksandr Usyk. It's been a few weeks since Oleksandr Usyk dominated Tyson Fury in their fight for the undisputed heavyweight title, and you might be wondering the same thing I was wondering. How was a small blown up cruiserweight able to dominate these heavyweight world champions? Today we'll be going through all of Usyk's attributes which enable him to have success in the heavyweight division. Before anyone becomes a professional boxer, they need to go through amateur boxing in order to get experience. Usyk was no stranger to this, having a record of 335 wins and 15 losses. He managed to grab an Olympic gold medal at the London 2012 Olympics in the heavyweight division. A year later, he would turn pro and win his first world title in just 10 fights. He then went on to join the World Boxing Super Series tournament, which is basically the greatest tournament of all time. They had all the top boxers in the weight class fight each other in an 8-man tournament. 4 of the boxers were world champions, and the other 4 were former world champions or highly ranked boxers. The prize would be all 4 world titles in the weight class, as well as the Muhammad Ali trophy, which is basically the greatest trophy you could possibly win. Just look at the size of it. He defended his titles against Tony Bellew by knocking him out in the 8th round in a competitive fight before relinquishing his titles and moving up to heavyweight. Now this is where things get interesting. He went on to face Derek Chisora, and honestly Usyk didn't really look that great in this fight. A lot of people were questioning whether he could handle the size difference because Chisora kept coming forwards to try and bully Usyk, and it honestly seemed like Usyk was struggling to deal with the pressure. Now Usyk would go on to win by decision, but his performance had people doubting whether he could survive in the heavyweight division. After winning this fight, he would go on to become Anthony Joshua's mandatory, and I don't think anyone expected the fight to go this way. Usyk thoroughly dominated Joshua from start to finish and had Joshua having a breakdown in the post-fight. He would go on to rematch Joshua straight away in a much closer fight, with Joshua losing the fight in the last rounds. Straight after, he would defend his titles again against Daniel Dubois in a very controversial fight. Controversial because Dubois managed to land a legal body shot and the referee ruled it as a low blow, giving Usyk a few minutes to recover, and a few minutes for someone like Usyk is basically an eternity. After knocking out Dubois in the 9th round, he would finally get a chance to become undisputed after he got the green light to fight Tyson Fury. Now for years these two always had confrontations, but a fight never seemed possible due to boxing politics. Basically, Tyson Fury wanted to get paid. The reason this fight was possible now was because the Saudis were willing to put the money up to make the fight. The fight was originally meant to happen in February, but Fury suffered a cut in sparring, so this got changed to May. Although at this point Usyk was holding on to 3 belts, many people still doubted him and his ability to become undisputed. Why is that? Well, the biggest reason for this is because of his size, or lack of it. He's essentially a blown up cruiserweight. The heavyweight division for the past few decades has been dominated by size, with some of the biggest champions coming in at least 6'4". This is because being bigger simply means you're going to have the upper hand because you'll be more durable and you'll be able to hit harder as well. There's only been a few highly skilled heavyweights who are able to use their smaller size to their advantage, such as Mike Tyson, who used the peekaboo style to slip punches and come back with counters. So how was Usyk able to find the same success with his small stature? In order to answer this, I think we need to take a closer look at Usyk's style. A lot of the time, where you come from will have a lot of influence on the kind of style you have. Mexicans tend to be pressure fighters who are very front foot heavy and love to brawl. Americans tend to be slick boxers working behind a Philly shell, and Eastern Europeans tend to have a very active style with lots of slips and angles with their footwork. They also tend to have a high work rate in order to secure as many points as possible. It's a style that was developed in order to have a lot of success in the amateurs. It's harder for this style to work in the pros because it's hard to maintain this level of activity over multiple rounds. Usyk uses this style flawlessly, slipping punches coming in from taller heavyweights before getting on the inside and letting his hands go. He lacks power at this weight because of his small stature, but it doesn't matter because he doesn't need power. He's not trying to knock you out with one shot. He's a volume puncher that's trying to drown you in pressure. He's ready to go all night and get the decision at the end of the day. Earlier, we talked about how this style is hard to use because of the energy requirements. But that's not a problem for Usyk. He's figured out that he can go up and down in gears to avoid blowing through his gas tank. He will use this style to score, and then when he needs to rest, he goes into a tight high guard to give his feet time to recover. Most people would see this as the perfect time to go after Usyk, but the problem is his high guard is just as good as his open guard. One of his most underrated assets is his conditioning. In order to maintain this style for 12 rounds, he needs to be in perfect condition. He trains year round and he's always in shape. I think this gives him a big advantage over fighters who tend to take a few weeks off after a fight in order to spend time with their family and relax. Usyk, on the other hand, is in the gym year round, and he's lived like this since he was an amateur. This man doesn't know what it means to be unfit. His conditioning is almost always the deciding factor of a fight. This is because the last rounds of a fight are usually the most important and will influence who the judges think won the fight. He's always got enough left in his gas tank to come out on top during these rounds, like we saw in both his fights with Anthony Joshua and recently his fight with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is the perfect example of what people expect a heavyweight champion to look like. He literally looks like a giant coming in at 6'9", weighing around 260 pounds. But the strange thing about Tyson Fury isn't his size, it's how he moves. He glides around the ring like he's a middleweight with a flicking jab, and he throws these quick combinations as well. His skills are also world class, and combined with his size, it's no wonder he was dominating the heavyweight division. He was the favourite coming into this fight with Usyk, and their fight was honestly one of the best fights of the year so far. Both of them pushed each other to levels that we've never seen before. Usyk came out strong, which was expected, and he set a fast pace for the first few rounds. Fury looked like he was struggling to find his distance, and he was also showboating a lot, but I think he was just having a lot of fun in there. After the 4th round, this is where things got interesting. Fury seemed to find his distance with combinations and was also catching Usyk with an uppercut. At round 7, I remember thinking Fury's got this. All he has to do is comfortably cruise to a decision and he's champ. But this is where Usyk thrives. His mindset allowed him to dig deep and keep putting pressure on Fury. He adapted to Fury's uppercut by tightening up his guard to absorb the shot and stayed on Fury. In round 8, Usyk was finally rewarded for this hard work and managed to hurt Fury with a left hand. From here, the showboating stopped. Fury had a more worried look on his face and Usyk could smell blood. He kept up the pressure in round 9 and finally managed to hurt Fury and had him on skates. Right as Usyk was about to land the finishing blow, the referee gives Fury a standing count. A lot of people were pissed off about this because they think that the ref saved Fury, but I don't think Usyk had the power to finish Fury here. He probably would have just landed one more shot and Fury would have taken a knee and then recovered. Fury managed to get back up and then he finished the round. Now coming into the final rounds, both men were very exhausted, but Usyk dug deep and kept up his work rate in order to secure those last rounds. I've never seen such a display of endurance, and I'm surprised to say that it came from a heavyweight, because this kind of work rate is more typical from the lighter weight classes. Fury has said that a rematch is going ahead, so we'll probably see that happen at some point by the end of the year. I'm very interested to see this rematch because both men will probably come back with new game plans based on their first fight. I don't think they'll fight again after this because there's not really much for either of them to do in boxing after this. Whoever wins will probably just vacate the titles, and the next generation of heavyweights will probably look to fight for vacant titles. Let me know what you guys think of Usyk in the comments, and what fights are you guys looking forward to?